Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here to break down the Orlando Magic versus Brooklyn Nets game on Friday, July 31st. This is really the opening day. I mean, we had the night before, we had the Lakers Clippers, Jazz Pelicans. I hope that went well for you guys. But today this is the Orlando Magic Brooklyn Nets game. We have 6 games on today's slate, and I'm going to be making 6 separate videos for each game for a multitude of reasons. I mean, there could be, one is just easier for me to make these shorter videos, and I think you guys would rather watch a shorter video instead of one long hour video. I'll be able to go more in depth about each game. If you're here for late pivots because I know the games go all day. It's like Christmas Day slate. Pretty much the rest of the year. So if you need to make some pivots off of chalk when your lineups aren't doing the best, and you need to make a Hail Mary, or someone got ruled out and you need to replace them, or someone got ruled out and you got to see who that affects. All these things are really going to be able to help you with those videos. So this is the first game of the day, so you probably aren't coming to this one later, but some of the other videos you might. If you're new here, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, turn on the notification bell. All those things really help me grow this channel. Been growing pretty well through NASCAR season. Now NBA's here, NFL's coming up soon. I cover all those sports along with NCAA football and NCAA basketball. If you want to subscribe to more of my content, you should subscribe to my Patreon. I'll put that in the description below. It's only $10 a month for you're gonna get for NBA. You're gonna get a cheat sheet, projections, an article, salary tier rankings, and a cash core for every single day. As long as follow me on Twitter at DFS Nate Lane, and on Instagram at Nate Lane _. I like to talk about sports and DFS and fantasy football and all that kind of stuff over there. So make sure to check me out on those as well. All right, let's get into this game. So this is the first game of the day, 2:30 p.m. We have the Orlando Magic and the Brooklyn Nets, and to be honest, no one really knows what in the world is going to happen with the Brooklyn Nets. They just have nobody on the team. Before I get into the players, let's go through the game script, or the game of how this should go. The Orlando Magic are one of the slowest paced teams in the league. They play at a crawling pace of 101.5, but the Nets play at a slow pace of 105.9 as well. So it is a pace down game for Brooklyn, but a pace up game for Orlando, but really not that much either way. It still really is not a game, in my opinion, to target too heavily, but I do think there are some interesting plays in this game that you could find to use, and maybe some lower owned plays as well. The total line for the game is at 211.5. The Brooklyn Nets are predicted for 102.2, and the Orlando Magic for 109.1. So it is supposed to be a very low scoring game, which is why I do think there is maybe not the best plays in the world in this game, but I do think there are some lower owned options to get into. Without further ado, let's get into the players. So we got Jared Allen for the Brooklyn Nets. So on Brooklyn, DeAndre Jordan's out for the season. Kyrie Irving's out for the season. Kevin Durant didn't even play a game. Spencer Dinwiddie's out for the season. Taurean Prince is out for the season. Nick Claxton's out for the season. Now, the two guys that mainly affect Jared Allen here are Nick Claxton, DeAndre Jordan, the other two centers, and they're not going to be there for the rest of the season. So Jared Allen's the only center on the roster outside of Dante Hall, but he doesn't play. Well, I don't expect him to get a ton of minutes. So I think this is time for Brooklyn's going to try to develop Jared Allen and maybe becoming a starting center for him. So I expect him to get at least 30 minutes a game. So right now I haven't projected for exactly 30, but I could see that going over for sure. Jared Allen doesn't really draw a great matchup, however, though I'm not really too intrigued by him. He's only got a 15% usage percentage. If you look at the matchup, it's an okay matchup, but it is a negative matchup in favor of Jared Allen here. Nikola Vucevic is a very good defensive center, and just the Magic in general are a very slow-paced team and a very good defensive team. So that's just not someone I'm really too interested to get into. Jamal Crawford, I think, is going to be interesting. I don't think anyone knows how many minutes he's going to play, but I will say that he probably is going to be him and Tyler Johnson both are going to be key players for this team. But they're playing the Magic, so I don't see the absolute need to get to him. It would be more thought about if they're playing someone like Washington or Phoenix, but they're playing the Magic, so I'm really not too excited to go into them. Now, Joe Harris is one that I am interested in. Him and Karis Levert are probably going to do everything for the team down the stretch. Joe Harris is only 5,400 on DraftKings as well, which is too cheap because he's going to get a usage bump. He usually has a usage of 17.9, but he's getting a 7-point usage bump with all those guys off the floor to 24.7. So everyone knows Joe Harris is just a shooter, but he has a pretty good assist percentage of these guys off the court as well with a 17.6 assist percentage. So he might end up being able to produce pretty well in the bubble. We could see his price end up rising to like in the 7K range, so he could be too cheap. The one problem again is it is playing against the Magic, so I'm not too high on him, but I think he is a solid option at 5,400. I mean, tomorrow's a slate I'm gonna go on pretty lightly, just because we don't really know what rotations are gonna look like and everything. So, but if you are mass entering tournaments, I think Joe Harris is someone to keep an eye on and to definitely get some options to him, because all the guys are priced on the whole slate at around like 5,000. Like, he's gonna be a higher usage player. I think he has just as much upside as any other guy around there. Then we have Ranians Karuch. Not someone I'm like too excited to play, only projecting like 20 minutes. Again, like these guys, it's just, I'm so happy they're playing the Magic first, so that we get to see their rotations in a game before we have to just, like, instead of just guessing them in a really good matchup. Like, it's a bad matchup, and these guys are probably going to pop off, but after these minutes, after we see how many minutes these guys play, we'll be able to predict for the rest of the bubble. I mean, the next 7 games for actually, they're going to have more because they're going to make the playoffs, so, which is ridiculous. So, next 11 games because they're getting swept. Up next, we have Karis Levert. I have been projected right now for 36 minutes. He's going to be 7,800. And Karis Levert is going to do everything for this team. I mean, yeah, Joe Harris is going to get some usage as well, but I mean, literally, Karis Levert is doing everything for this team. He averages a 28.8 usage percentage on the season, but with Kyrie, Dinwiddie, and Torian Prince off the floor, he has a usage percentage of 41.3. So that's insane. I mean, that's like one of the elite usage percentages in the league. I don't know if he's going to be, I mean, that's on a pretty decently small sample size. I don't know if he's going to be able to keep that up. But if he is, I mean, it's just he's a great play. I mean, I don't even care if it's against the Magic. If he has a usage percentage of 41.3 and assist percentage of 33.9, he should have no problem easily paying out that salary. I mean, just to 5x it, he needs what does he need? 39 points. He should I mean, he should easily pass 40. And to 6x it of 46.8. I mean, the projections probably won't show as great for Karis Levert just because he is playing Orlando, but I don't care. I mean, he's just going to have such a high usage percentage in this game that I just think he's just too hard to not want to play. And I mean, I was expecting DraftKings to price him up to like 9,000. I was expecting to price a lot of guys up for the opening day, but they didn't. He's only 7,800 still. So Karis Levert, fine play. He's too cheap still. The rest of these guys, I'm not interested in. Maybe Garrett Temple, 34 minutes at 4,100. It's probably going to go overlooked, but it's just the same thing as the other guys. Like, yeah, he gets a nice little usage bump here, but he's still playing Orlando. He's still playing Orlando. It's just a tough matchup to want to go to for Garrett Temple. All right, let's get into Orlando Magic. First guy I want to talk about is Evan Fournier. I am a little more intrigued by the Orlando Magic players than the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, Brooklyn's not a good defensive team anyway, and now like nobody's there, so they're really not a good defensive team. They don't play too fast. So yeah, I think Fournier is one that's interesting. He's a 0.9 per minute guy. He's only 5,600. He has a usage rate of 24.2. When we look at their defense versus position, I mean, it's not the best. It is a negative advantage here for Evan Fournier, negative matchup. But I mean, it's still. I mean, Brooklyn's so depleted everywhere. I mean, it's just not something that's really going to do anything. And I don't expect Karis Levert to really do anything on defense. He has to do everything on offense. So it's not like he's like a great matchup for him or anything. Markelle Fultz, I think, is interesting. He's too cheap. 5,100 for Markelle Fultz. I have him projected for 28 minutes. He could go a little less than that. He could go a little more. Him and DJ Augustin usually find a way to have him around the same amount of minutes, but Fultz is more upside. 0.92 point per minute guy. He has triple-double upside every time he steps on the floor. The Nets aren't good. Markelle Fultz, the way he plays basketball, he gets to the rim a lot. And Jared Allen, yeah, everyone's like, oh, he's a rim protector, but he's actually not that good. It's like stopping a lot of shots. He'll block a few a game, but for the most part, he isn't really doing much. I mean, he gets torched by centers every single day. So we'll get into Vucevic in a minute. But yeah, Markelle Fultz, I think, is a fine option here. He's probably not going to go too highly owned because of other guys in the slate, but I think Fultz looks pretty good. He does have a positive matchup against Brooklyn. They're not as great against the point guards, so I think Fultz is a very solid option. Up next, we have Aaron Gordon for 7,200. Aaron Gordon, I think, might just be a little too expensive. When I'm looking at other guys around his price on his slate as a whole, I'm just not as high on Aaron Gordon. I mean, he's a 0.9, almost a point per minute producer, which is fine, but I just don't expect him to really go off or anything. I expect him to have a solid day. I don't think you can go wrong with him. He's probably fine. He's got a decent floor, but I just don't think Aaron Gordon's going to pop off or anything. Jonathan Isaac's an interesting one because now Jonathan Isaac, we haven't seen Jonathan Isaac play since January? I think that's when it was. That's when he got hurt. And now he's back. The problem is with Jonathan Isaac, the one good thing is he's 5,800. That's too cheap if Jonathan Isaac is the Jonathan Isaac we know. And I mean, I'd assume he's pretty much healthy at this point because he went his full recovery time. He's good, but he just hasn't played basketball that much recently. He looked pretty decent in scrimmages. Had one really good game the other day, but I don't know. I mean, we don't know how many minutes they're going to play him. Are they just going to immediately put him back into that 30 minutes a game thing? Because really, Orlando's pretty much locked into the playoffs. They could, I think, still move up to the 7th seed though. So Brooklyn is the 7th seed right now, and I don't think Brooklyn's winning a game in the whole bubble. So I think it'll be interesting to see how many minutes they play. I just am worried about this being his first real game since the injury. Even though I know he's recovered, it's not like he's just recovered. He's been recovered for a while. It's just something it's just a little bit of a scary play to me. I think he's okay if you're mastering GVPs. I want to go to him, but Jonathan Isaac's just not like a lock for me. Terence Ross 5,700 I think is somewhat interesting. I think Terence Ross is always interesting because he has such a high ceiling. He can always just go off. Nothing special here. He's 5,700. It feels a little bit too expensive for me. He's not a super high usage player, 22.8. I mean, in all honesty, he has a floor of like 4 points. Like if he's hot, he's gonna go off for you. But if he's not making any shots, he's not gonna really do anything. Not a guy who does a lot more outside of shooting, as that you can see the 6.8 assists and 6.8 assist percentage, 6.3 rebound percentage. As you can see, that's just not high percentages. But I mean, he's fine. Just I mean, the matchup is a negative matchup. Oh, I forgot to mention negative matchups for both Aaron Gordon and Jonathan Isaac for both their types of positions. So, Terence Ross, I'm not really interested in as much. Now, Nikola Vucevic. This is the guy out of both these games. Well, maybe Levert, but on the Magic, Nikola Vucevic is my favorite play. 8,500. I mean, it's good price for Vucevic. I think that's where he should be. But the Nets just suck against bigs. They have for years. Well, I guess for 2 years. I mean, pretty much if you play DFS, NBA DFS a lot, you know that. So I'm assuming Vucevic will get some decent ownership. He's a good player, 25.8 usage percentage, 20 assist percentage, and 18.1 rebound percentage. He has triple-double upside as a center. More than likely won't hit that. It doesn't hit that a lot, but he does have the upside. So Vucevic is fine for me. I mean, I really like Vucevic. I just love the matchup. I mean, they're giving up 3 more points than average to centers, and then the league average for centers per game in DraftKings points. So yeah, I mean that's big. Vucevic only needs I think like 40 to pay off that salary, 42.5 to 5x, 51 to 6x, and both those are reasonable. He can even maybe hit a 60-point game. I wouldn't try to bank on that, but the 42-point game should be very, very reasonable for Vucevic to hit. So that's pretty much all I got for this game. Make sure to stick around. I'm gonna make a playlist for all the games I'm doing. So we got next up is the Wizards game, I believe, to go through. Yeah, Wizards Phoenix, or is it Portland Memphis? I don't know. That's when I'll be recording next. Make sure to check out all these videos. Make sure to come back if you need to make some late pivots. They're all gonna be quick videos. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment, subscribe to my Patreon. So thanks for watching, guys. Good luck.